On October 9, 2022, a hiker discovered 3 bodies in Colorado's Gunnison National Forest. The campsite: 2 tents filled with personal items and survival supplies. The scene suggested an attempt at long-term wilderness living. The victims, identified as the Vance family: 42-year-old Belica Vance, 41-year-old Christine Vance, 14-year-old Talon Vance. The bodies were mummified due to the cold, as the snow had only recently melted. Background: in July 2022, the Vance family decided to move into the Gunnison National Forest to live in isolation. Reason for isolation: Belica felt disillusioned by society and troubled by personal and historical events. They prepared extensively for wilderness survival, bringing books on farming and vegetable gardening, a fishing rod for sourcing protein, canned food and basic cookware. However, their survival plan was amateurish. They camped far from a reliable water source. Survival tools were limited. The discovery and condition of the bodies: Talon's body was found outside the tent. Multiple fractures. Half of his face had been eaten, likely by scavengers. His tongue was missing, and his body was blackened and dried. He wore a black shirt and grey pants, but no shoes or socks. Belica's body was found near the roots of a pine tree. Her face showed a terrified expression. Like Talon, she had no shoes or socks. Part of her internal organs were exposed, and her eyes remained open in death. Christine's body was found inside a sleeping bag in one of the tents. Her hands were clasped in prayer, wearing a cross necklace. Her body showed no major injuries, suggesting she died peacefully, possibly from exposure or starvation. The site and aftermath: around the campsite, used tissues and human waste were scattered nearby. The 8-by-8-foot grey tent stood intact amidst the tragic scene. The family's choice of location and lack of proper survival equipment likely contributed to their demise. This tragedy highlights the perilous challenges of wilderness survival, especially without adequate preparation. The Vance family's story serves as a stark reminder of the risks of isolation in unforgiving environments. A few feet away from Belica's body, investigators found a clump of pitch-black fur. It didn't match Belica or Christine's hair. They both had long, Authorities never disclosed any analysis of this fur. For those of you who've followed my videos, you know how important it is to stay agile and alert in the wilderness. If you're being tracked by something, maybe even something giant, you need to move quickly or risk being attacked. North of the tents, there was a small shelter made of branches and logs. Inside, they found some random supplies, likely stored there by the family. The campsite had 2 tents. Based on the setup, it seems Belica shared one tent with her son, while Christine stayed in the other. But the family's cause of death remains a mystery. The official report labeled it an accident, but online theories point to 3 possible explanations. The first theory suggests they died from hypothermia and malnutrition. There was a lot of waste scattered around the campsite, which suggests they might have been infected by parasites or had intestinal issues, causing severe diarrhea and dehydration. It's also possible they didn't have enough food to survive the brutal winter of 2022. The snow that year piled several feet high, and while canned food was found at the site, it wasn't enough to sustain them long term. They would have needed to find additional food sources. Interestingly, the nylon tents were still standing, which implies someone was alive long enough to clear the snow and prevent the tents from collapsing. This theory makes sense in some ways, but it raises a big question. Why didn't they leave? They arrived by car and had time to escape if supplies were running low. And it doesn't explain why Talon's body had multiple fractures, or why Belica's abdomen was ripped open. The second theory suggests they were killed by wild animals. The Gunnison National Forest, located in western Colorado, is a haven for backpackers and hikers. The forest is full of elk, deer, and bears. It's possible that food at the campsite attracted a hungry bear preparing for hibernation. Judging by how Belica and Talon weren't wearing shoes or socks, they might have rushed out of the tent in a panic when attacked. But here's where things get strange. Neither Belica nor Talon's bodies were consumed extensively. Wildlife experts point out that if a bear had attacked, it would have eaten most of their remains. Plus, there were no weapons like rifles or bows found at the site, meaning the family had no way to defend themselves. The truth about what happened to the Vance family is still shrouded in mystery. The third theory suggests the family might have died from carbon monoxide poisoning or food poisoning. At the campsite, investigators noticed the top of one tent had smoke stains, indicating they had cooked inside at some point. However, forensic tests showed no dangerous levels of carbon monoxide in their systems, nor were any toxic substances found in their fluids. Afterward, some online users shared their own theories, focusing on a few key mysteries. 1. Talon's fractures. How did Talon sustain multiple broken bones? If he was attacked by an animal, why wasn't he eaten? While his missing half-face and tongue could be explained by birds or small scavengers, the cause of his fractures remains unknown. To Belica's abdomen, who or what ripped open her stomach? While bears or wolves are known to tear into the soft parts of humans, her internal organs were mostly intact. And given how isolated their campsite was, there was no evidence of foul play or mention of murder in the police report. 3. The clump of black hair. Whose hair was it? Or what creature did it belong to? Belica and Christine's hair hadn't been cut. And while the strands were long and black, they didn't quite match bear fur. These unanswered questions fueled even wilder theories. Some users shared their strange experiences at the Gunnison campsite. One claim stood out: the idea that the Vance family might have been killed by Bigfoot. In one video, taken in October, a camper captured enormous footprints in the snow. The prints were far larger than a human's. Shortly after, the sound of a deep, guttural roar was heard, loud and unrelenting. Another video, recorded a few miles away near a creek, also showed massive footprints, again much larger than any humans. This led to the shocking conclusion that the Vance family had fallen victim to Bigfoot. Some theorists tried to piece together what might have happened. As winter approached, the family began storing food for survival. It's possible their activity disrupted Bigfoot's territory. A creature of that size would need a massive amount of food to survive, and the Vances might have upset the delicate balance of resources. Another possibility is that the smell of their canned food attracted the creature's attention, and it attacked them one night. Whether it was environmental, animal-related, or something more sinister, the truth remains as elusive as the wilderness itself. Bigfoot attacked Talon and Belica, one after the other. But it's clear Christine managed to escape. She was sleeping alone in another tent. Now, about that clump of black hair they found. It never went through any proper testing. But I came across another case online, Bigfoot hair analysis, that might be helpful here. This report was published on a site called Mummified. It said the mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down from mothers, was fully human. But the nuclear DNA, that showed a mix human traits and characteristics of some kind of primate. Basically, The theory is that Bigfoot might be the offspring of a human woman and some unknown primate species. The genome even shared similarities with a specific human chromosome, but it had unique sequences never seen before, not even in ancient human or primate DNA. The mitochondrial DNA in their sample was estimated to be over 13,000 years old. So, the researchers think Bigfoot might be the result of some kind of ancient hybridization between humans and, well, something else. But here's the thing, this research hasn't exactly been welcomed by the scientific community. Acknowledging Bigfoot's existence would throw a wrench into a lot of what we think we know about biology. A few days after the tragedy, the authorities got a call from a man. He said he was Talon's dad. He sounded heartbroken. He explained that over a year ago, Belica had told him she was taking their son to live in a remote mountain area. Since August 2022, he hadn't heard a single word from her. His calls and messages all went unanswered. When Talon's body was found, he only weighed about 20 kilograms. No matter how he died, it's clear he went through unimaginable suffering beforehand. And then there's his diary. Talon wrote, "I'm happy living with Mum, but we're about to move to some place no one knows about. No one knows what's ahead. I don't want to leave my family and friends, but I don't have a choice.